Hello my dear students, welcome back. What a joy to see my dear students are back. And how was the quiz? Good, I'm so glad to hear this. Well my dear student, in this sub lesson we're going to talk about cube roots of numbers. What is cube roots of numbers? Earlier we learned how to find cube of a number, am I right? Well, it's the reverse. Let's review back, okay? Now when I give you 4 to the cube, which was 4 times 4 times 4. See that? Okay, now what is 4 times 4 times 4? So we know that 4 times 4 is 16, and then we're going to use the pairing method, okay? That times with another 4, that would have given us 64, alright? Okay, 64. Now, to find the cube root of a number, like say for example 64, I want to find the cube root. See that? That's cube root. Now remember earlier of our lesson we talked about square root. Now we don't put the 2 here, but this is considered as a 2 there, but you don't have to put it, but that is square root. Now once you go beyond square roots, then you have to put the number, cube roots. Alright, so you have to put the 3. That means you are looking for a number, an identical number. 3 times will give you 64. Okay, that means the same number you're multiplying 3 times. Okay, that will give you 64. You only need one of them. You only need one of them, just like this one. Okay, the same number when you multiply, that will give you 81. You only need one of them. So in this case it will be 9 times 9, and you only need 9. That's the answer. Square root of 81 is 9. Now cube root of 64 is right there. The same number that you're multiplying is 4 times 4. You only need 1, which is 4. The cube root of 64 is 4. See that? Now let's say for example Mr. Mac to give you cube root of 27. Very important. I got to put a small 3 right there. Alright? This is cube root. That means I'm looking for a number that I multiply 3 times. The same number should give me 27, and I only need one of them. How about 3 times 3 times 3? 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. See that? And I only need only one, which is 3. Okay? So pretty much it's 3 times 3 times 3. I only need 1, which is 3, right there. That's how you do it, okay? So now, let's put down all the possible cubes of 1 through, let's say 12, alright? Let's do that, okay? Let's start with 1. And you know that 1 to the cube will be what? 1. 2 to the cube, 2 times 2 times 2 will be, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, alright? 3 cube is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27, alright? And 4 cube is 64. 5 cube is 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125. Alright? And then 6 cube is, of course we're going to times them out, okay? So we know 6 times 6 and then times 6, and that gives you 36, and then we're going to times it with again 6, so line it up. 36 times 6, 6 times 6 is 36, 6 and then carry the 3, 6 times 3 is 18, 18 plus 3 is 21. So that's 216. And then 7 cube is 7 times 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49 times 7. Okay, so we're going to take 49 times 7. 7 times 9 is 63. 3 you carry the 6. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 6 is 34. Okay, 34. And then 8 cube is 8 times 8 is, so in other words 8 times 8, 64, and then we're going to multiply that with 8. So then we're going to take 64 times 8. 8 times 4 is 32. 2 carry the 3. 8 times 6 is 48 plus 3 is 51. So that gives us 512. And then 9 to the cube is, okay, so it will be 9 times 9 times 9. So we know that 9 times 9 is 81, and then times with another 9. Let's line it up. So 81 times 9. 9 times 1 is 9. 8 times 9 is, very good, 72. Okay, so it'll be 729. Alright, then 10 cube is 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1000. Okay, and then 11 cube is, okay, which is 11 times 11 times 11. Okay, so we know 11 times 11 is 121 times 11. So we take 121 and then we're going to times it with 11. Okay, let's find a place with more space. All right here. 121 times 11. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 1 is 1. Then we're going to start right here. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, and then 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so we put right there. All right, then we're going to add them. 1, 3, 3, 1. See that? So it'll be 1331. And what about 12 to the cube? So it'll be 12 times 12 times 12. So we're going to pair using the pairing method, and we know that this will be 144 times 12. Let's line it up. So 144 times 12. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1. And then we're going to add that. 8 plus 4 is 12, 2 carry 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7, and then 1. So that gives me 1728. The reason why Mr. Mac listed out all this is, if I to give you cube root of any one of this, you should be able to know. See that? So if I ask you cube root of 343, 7. Cube root of 729, it's 9. Cube root of 1000 is 10. Cube root of 1331 is 11. See that? So now you know that the cube of all these numbers is, for 1 cube is 1, 2 cube is 8, 3 cube is 27, 4 cube is 64, 5 cube is 125, 6 cube is 216, 7 cube is 343, 8 cube is 512, 9 cube is 729, 10 cube is 1000, 11 cube is 1331, and 12 cube is 1728. Alright, so now I can go reverse. So I can ask you, what is the cube root of 1331? You know that 11 times 11 times 11 give you that. That means 11 times 11 times 11, you only need 1 right there, and it's 11. Alright, okay, good. Let Mr. Mac erase the board. Let's talk more about cube root. Alright, I'll be back in a few seconds. Alright, my dear student, now let's say, for example, if I were to give you a fraction as a cube root. Okay, let's say, for example, I give you cube root, and then I give you 216 over 343. Okay, so 216 over 343, and I want to find the cube root of that. So what does that really mean? Now I can break this up like this. Make sure you put the cube root. Very important, okay? Because if you don't put it, it becomes square root. All right? See that? I can put 216 and 343. So that means the cube root here means I'm looking for a number times that. 3 times will give me 216, but it has to be identical, same number. All right? So earlier we know that 6 times 6 times 6 gives us 216. What about if you don't know? You use trial and error. You start with 5 and see if the 5 comes to, well, not quite yet. Increase it. See that? You can do the trial and error method. Okay? Let's say, for example, I'm not sure. In this case, yes, Mr. Banks told you 6. What about if you're not sure? You do trial and error. Okay, let's say 5. Okay, so we're going 5 times 5 times 5. See if it come to 216. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. And then I'm going to times it with another 5. So I take 25 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And then I carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. 125. But this is 216. Could be 6. So now then you try 6. 6 times 6 times 6, and you use the pairing method. 6 times 6 is 36, and then you times with 6. Okay, then you line it up. Okay, so 36 times 6, 6 times 6 is 36. 6, you carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18. Plus 3 is 21. Right there. Ah, good. That means 6 times 6 times 6 makes it 216. Alright? Then you can just put it in there. 6 times 6 times 6 root. And then, and this one is, if this is 216 give you 6, possibly 7. See that? Then you can times it out. 7 times 7 is 49, and then times 7 gives you 343. Ah, look like that is 7 times 7 times 7. Okay? When you cube root, you're looking only for 1. You're looking for 3 identical number that multiply will give you this or this. And you only want to pick only 1. Alright? That's how we already learned. Okay? Just take 1. That makes it 6 over 7. You remove the cube root. Alright? That's the purpose. You're using the cube root to find 6 over 7. Alright? Okay, good. So now what happens if you have a negative? If you have a negative, okay, let's put that. Okay, let's say cube root. Alright? Negative 8 over 27. Now, whenever you're cube rooting a negative number, you'll still get the negative back. Because remember, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, negative times negative is what? Positive. And then times another negative will give you negative. See that? So when you have negative times negative times negative, it will always give you negative. Only if you square will give you positive. So in this case, negative, you will get the answer out negative. Keep in mind, alright? When you cube root a negative number, you will get a negative back. Alright? Only for square, we don't deal with negative. Square roots, okay? In square roots, we don't deal with negative. But cube root, yes, you can cube root a negative number, but not square root. Alright? Keep in mind. Okay, so we know it's going to be negative. So then we find the root of 8. Cube root of 8, which would be what? 2 times 2 times 2. See that? 2 times 2 times 2, and 27 will be 3 times 3 times 3. And I only need 1 of each. So that makes it negative 2 over 3. Very important, okay? Even if I give you in a single number, just without a fraction. So let's say negative 512. And it's a cube root. Cube root negative, you will get negative back. And cube root of 512 is, earlier we learned 8 times 8 times 8 is what? 512, okay? So that means we're going to put 8 times 8 times 8, we only need 1. That means negative 8. Alright, keep in mind, okay? This negative, when you cube root, you will get it back. Alright, and then you just break that 512 into 3 identical numbers that multiply will give you 512, which is 8 times 8 times 8. Cube root, you only pick 1 out of that, and that's right there. Negative 8 is your answer. Okay, good. Now let's talk about decimal. What do you do if it's a decimal? Alright, let Mr. Mac erase the board, and I'll be back within a few seconds. Alright, my dear student, now before we talk about the decimal, let me ask you this. What would be the cube root of 1000? That means you're finding an identical number that times 3 times will give you 1000, which means what? We're going to break that, okay? So that means 10 times 10 times 10. See that? So you got 3 zeros, that means 10 times 10 times 10, because each got 1 0, 2 0, 3 0. See that? So that's how it makes it 1000, alright? So we are cube rooting, we only need 1, alright? Cube rooting, we only need 1, that means 10. See that? Cube root of 1000 is 10, alright? So that means if I would have 6 zeros, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means I need 100 times 100, and again we're cube rooting, okay? 100 times 100 times 100. See that? Okay? And I only need 1. That means that is 100. Okay, good. I want you to know this, alright? Okay, now let's talk about decimal. How to find cube root of a decimal numbers, okay? Let's say Mr. Mac to give you 0.027, and I want to find the cube root of 0.027. Okay, I want you to follow this step. Okay, the first step I want you to do is take this decimal, move it such a way that it will give you a round number, a whole number. Alright, how many times did I move? 1, 2, 3. Am I right? So that gives you now is 27 cube root. Now the 3 times that you move, that means 3 zeros. Okay, 3 zeros. I want you to find the cube root of that 1000. What is the cube root of 1000? Is 10. Alright, and what would be cube root of 27? Would be 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is what? 27. We only need 1. Alright, okay, so now after you find that this 10 got 1 0, you see the decimal right there? Move it only once. So 1 0, you move it to the left only once. Grab it, move it once, right there. Now pretty much you're dividing. You're taking 3 divided by 10, which gives you what? 0.3. So 0.3, and that's the answer for that, 0.3. See that? Let's do another one, okay? Let's say Mr. Mac asks you find the cube root of 0.512. Alright? Alright, first step is what? We want to make this as a whole number. So that means we're going to grab the decimal, move it how many times? 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that makes it now 512 cube root. The one I moved 3 times is what? 1000. You put 1000, alright? Okay, so actually we're dividing. So now what is square root, cube root of 1000, which is 10? What's the cube root of 512? We knew from previous, which is 8, okay? So now I'm dividing that 8 with 10. That means I grab the decimal, which is right there, and move it how many times? To the left once. Put the decimal right there. And it becomes 0.8. 0.8. See that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Let's do another one, okay? Let's say Mr. Mac to give you, let's say 0.008. And I want to cube root that. And what's our first step? To make that, what's inside that to be a whole number, alright? No decimal, okay? So let's do that. So we're going to make that the whole number. So we're going to move it how many times? 1, 2, 3. The moment I moved it 3 times, okay? So it becomes 8. Alright? And then the 3 time I move is 3 zeros. Alright? I'm going to put divide here. I'm going to put 3 zeros in there. Right there. Alright? So now, what is the, make sure you put, alright, make sure cube root, alright, same, alright? Alright, now ask yourself, what's the cube root of 8? 2 times 2 times 2, that means 2 times 2 times 2, you only need 1, which is 2. What about this one? The cube root of 1000 is 10 times 10 times 10, you only need 1. So you put 10 right there. Okay, now you're dividing. The decimal's right here. When you divide by 10 or 100 or 1000, you grab the decimal, you move it to the left, alright? So what are we going to do? We're going to grab the decimal, move it to the left by how many times? Because in this case we're dividing them by 10. 10 only got 1 0, we're only going to move once. And then put the decimal right there and then put a 0. So that becomes 0.2. Cube root of 0.008 is 0.2. Alright, pretty easy, isn't it? Very straightforward. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, let's say Mr. Mac to give you, okay, 0.000343. Okay, and then we're getting a cube root. So what's our first step? Grab the decimal, move it to the right. Okay, make it into a whole number. Alright, how many times I'm moving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I moved it 6 times. When I moved it 6 times, okay, so now I'm going to write this one here. Becomes 343. I'm going to divide that by how many zeros? 6 zeros, because I moved it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright? And we know cube root of 343 is what? 7. And cube root of 1 million. Okay, how many zeros are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to divide the zeros by 3 parts. That makes it 1 part, 2 part, 3 part. That means 100. 100 would be the answer, because 100 times 100, it will be 10,000, and then times another 100 will be 1 million. See that? See? I kind of break into 3 parts. I only need this, 2 zeros. Cube root will break the zeros into 3 parts. See, like when it's 1,000, see that? 1, 2, 3, I only take 1. When it's 6 zeros, I divide into evenly 3 parts, and each has 2 zeros. So I take the 2 zeros, become 100. So now I locate the decimal. The decimal for 7 is what? Right here. How many times do I move this time to the left? How many zeros 100 got? 2. I move it twice. 1, 2. I put the decimal right there. The first bubble got 7 in it, second bubble nothing, I put a 0. And then you put a 0 in front of the decimal. So it becomes 0.07. That's the answer. 0.07. So cube root of 0.000343 is 0.07. Alright? Does that make sense? Okay, good. And that's everything that you need to know about decimal part, finding the cube root. Okay, good. Well, let Mr. Mac erase the board, and let's talk about when you have a combined operation, when you add and subtract, multiply, divide, and combined operation, when you're dealing with square root and cube root. How do we do that? Okay, I'll be back with you in a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, now let's talk about addition and subtraction using square, square root, and then cube root. Alright? Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's see if Mr. Mac listed a few problems on that. Let's talk about it. Let's do the first one. You got -3 squared adding with the 5 cube. See that? So -3 squared with the 5 cube. Let's do that. Okay, let's say for example, in this case you got -3 squared. Now what would that be? -3 times -3 will be +9. See that? Because this is -3 times -3. Negative becomes positive. So +9. So we did this part. Now what about 5 cube? So we're going to do 5 cube. It's equals to 5 times 5 times 5. And we know that 5 cube is 125. That's right, because we already learned it earlier. Okay, 5 cube is 125. So now let's substitute. So 9, so it becomes 9 plus 125. So we're going to line it up. So 125 plus with 9, 5 plus 9 is 14, 4 carry 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, and then bring 1 down. See that? So it becomes 134. Alright, very important. When you add and subtract, you have to do them individually. Okay, you got to finish this first, and then you finish that, and then you subtract. Finish this, finish that, and then you add. Alright, that's how you do it. Okay, so in this case, we want to find the square root of 81 minus with the cube root of -27. Alright, we're going to do it separately. We know that square root of 81 would be what? 9. Okay, we're going to minus. Now we're going to find the cube root of -27. Alright, that means we want to find the cube root of -27. That means that 3 numbers that multiply will give me -27, identical, which would be what? -3 times -3 times -3. See that? Because -3 times -3 is what? +9. +9 times -3, -27. And we only need 1. So that means this is -3 right there. Now look at that. Negative and negative will becomes positive. So that means 9 plus 3, that gives me 12 right there. See that? See everything, all the pieces that we learned, now we're putting together like as a problem. So you should be able to do that. Alright? Okay, so you cannot just do them right away. You got to do individually. Find what is this, find that one, and then substitute, add it, you get the answer. Same thing with this one. You got to do it this first, and then that, and then subtract. Alright? Got to do individually. So let's take this one. So we got -2 to the cube. What does that mean? -2 times -2 times -2. But you know that whenever you keep a negative, it always will be negative. Alright? That means the only thing you want to find is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So that's negative 8, okay? So this will be negative 8. Now what about square root of 16? It's 4, alright? 4 and then you put the negative. I owe more. You owe 8 and then you owe 4. That means you're adding with 8 and 4. You know your final answer is going to be negative. So 8 plus 4 is 12. Right there. See that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Okay, let's look at this one. Root of 36 minus square root of 36 minus square root of 4. Now be careful. You can never ever do like this. Okay, you cannot say 36 minus 4. No. You cannot combine this under one square root. Have to be done separately. You got to find what square root of 36 is. You got to find what the square root of 4 is. And then subtract. That means what is square root of 36 is 6. What is square root of 4? 2. And then you subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4 right there. That is the right way. Not that way. You cannot say, okay, that means square root of 36 minus square root of 4. It's equals to 36 minus 4. No. No, you cannot do that. Alright? When you subtract and add, you got to do them separately. But things will change when you multiply and divide. Alright? With subtraction and addition, you cannot combine them. You got to do them separately. You got to find what this is. You got to find what it is. Then you subtract. If it's addition, you got to find this, find that, and then you add. Alright? You cannot combine them like that. Okay? Keep in mind. Alright, good. So I want you to pay attention to that. Okay, let me raise the board. Let's do more. All right, get more practice on this before we go to hands-on practice. Okay, I'll be back with you in a few seconds. All right, my dear students. Now let's do a couple more different scenarios using addition and subtraction. All right. Now let's say, for example, if I to give you a mixed number with a square root adding with a mixed number with a cube root. How do you do that? Now very important, okay? You got to convert them into improper fraction, alright? So when I say improper fraction, we're going to use the semi-rotation method. We're going to multiply and then we're going to add. 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 7 is 25. So 25 over 9 square root, alright? We're going to add that with cube root. 3, now again we're going to use the semi-rotation method, alright? We're going to multiply, then we're going to add. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 3 is 27. So 27 over 8. Now, we're looking for the square root of 25. In other words, this is pretty much like this. 25 over 9. See that? And then we're going to add that with cube root of 27 over cube root of 8. So, what is it? Two numbers, identical number, when you multiply give you 25. That's what that is, square root. Square root of 25 is, you know that right away, which is 5. Square root of 9 is 3. So 5 over 3, I'm adding it with cube root of 27 is what? See that? Pay attention. See that? If there's none there, it's square root. If there's a number there, it's a cube root. That means I'm looking for 3 number, identical number. Multiply should give me 27, and I only need 1. That's what the cube root is all about. It's just taking one number, which is identical to 3, then multiply, give 27, which is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So I only need 3 out of that. And what about cube root of 8? 2 times 2 times 2. So I only need 2. See that? Now I'm going to combine them. It's fraction, alright? So, are they common denominator? No. So I have to find a common denominator. What's the common denominator for 3 and 2? 6. Alright? How do I get 6? 3 times 2 is 6. How do I go from 3 to 6? I multiply that by 2. That means I multiply the numerator also by 2. That makes it 10 over 6. Alright, and then I'm going to convert that into this format. In order to do that, how do I go from 2 to 6? I multiply 2 by 3, I multiply 3 by 3. That makes it 9 over 6. Can I add them now? Yes, because a common denominator. That makes it 19 over 6. But that's improper fraction, so I have to simplify, okay? So I use the arrow down method, which is 19 divided by 6. Use the cage approach. 19 kind of into the mag, I put inside the cage. 6 is kind of out, I'll put outside. In 19, that's how many 6? 3, because 3 times 9 is 18. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, and that's my balance. Alright, that's the number of 6 inside 19. So that makes it 3, the balance is 1, the denominator is 6. 3, 1 over 6. And that's the answer for this. 3, 1 over 6. See that? You solved it to the final answer right there. Alright, my dear students, okay, let's look at this one. Alright, now look at this. You got 1 minus 56 over 81 square root. So what do we do? Can we do this? Break them apart. Put 1 minus and then minus that with 56 over 81 square root, like that. No, you cannot do that. You cannot break them apart. Alright? No, this is no. You can't do that. What's inside the square root? You have to solve it first. You got to perform the operation of subtraction here first before you can take the square root. Alright? So let's do that. So let's take 1 minus 56 over 81. So what do? My first step ought to be the 1 you have to turn that into a fraction. So what kind of fraction shall I do? What kind of denominator shall I pick? 81. Why 81? Exactly. You want to keep it as a common denominator, okay? Because the denominator has to be common. So I want to make this 81 over 81, which is what? 1, okay? Minus 56 over 81. Since both has a common denominator, I can subtract. So I'm going to take 81 and I'm subtracting with 56. 1 minus 6, I cannot borrow from 8. 8 becomes 7. 1 becomes 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. So that makes it 25 over 81. So now I substitute right here. 25 over 81, which is also square root of 25, square root of 81. And what is square root of 25? It's 5. What's square root of 81? 9. 5 over 9. See that? You got to obey the rules. The rule is you got to solve this first. Right there. Once you get that, and then plug it in, now you take the square root. Apply everything that we've been learning, and you'll get to the answer. Okay, good. Well, let's talk about multiplication, division of it, alright? And I'll be back within a few seconds. Alright, my dear student, now let's talk about the multiplication first, alright? Okay, I listed a few problems. Let's work together. Let's look at the first one. You got square root. How do I know this is square root? There's nothing there, alright? If something written like this, cube root, alright? Square root of 5 times square root of 5. You know that when you square root of 5 times square root of 5 will be what? 5. Because this is pretty much is what? Square root of 5 times 5, which is square root of 25, which is 5. See that? So always remember, when you have identical number inside and you with the square root you multiply, you'll get the same number, 5, what's inside. Alright? Okay, keep in mind. So in other words, if I give you square root of 3 times square root of 3, which is 3. Square root of 8 times square root of 8, which is 8. Square root of 10 times square root of 10, which is 10. See that? Alright, keep in mind. Alright? So they will get the same thing. Now let's look at this one. You got negative 6 times square root of 36. Solve this. What is square root of 36 is? 6. So 6 times with negative 6. Negative times positive, it's negative. 6 times 6 is 36. Right there. Pretty easy, isn't it? Very straightforward, okay? Alright, so you got to solve this first before you can times them out. Now let's look at this one. You got square root of 27 times square root of 3. You cannot, can you square root of this? No. Can you square root of this? No. So why don't we times them out? In other words, we put them in one square root. We say 27 times 3. Let's find out what 27 times 3 turns out to be. Now you can do that for multiplication. But remember earlier, Mr. Max said when you say addition, you cannot combine them. Or you cannot break them. Alright? Okay, for the multiplication, yes, you can do that. Alright? So in other words, I can combine them or break them like this. So now 27 times 3, so let's put down 27 times 3, 3 times 7 is 21, 1 carry 2, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 81. Square root of 81 is 9. See that? That's the purpose, alright? They want you to multiply, get to this, and then find the square root. Okay? And you got it as a 9. Okay, let's look at this one. Now look at this. This is square root and this is cube root. Can I combine them? No. Only when there's a square root and square root, or cube root and cube root. But when there's a square root and a cube root, you got to solve them separately. So what this will be? It will be 7, because we know that square root of 49 is 7 times 7 is 49. So it will be 7. Now what about cube root of 64? Negative 64. You know the negative is going to come out. Whenever you cube root a negative number, you'll always get a negative. What is cube root of 64? What times what times what give you 64? 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. There you go. So it's 4. Now you multiply. Positive times negative gives you negative. 7 times 4 is 28. So the answer is negative 28. See that? Very important to pay attention to the rules. The rule is, with multiplication, yes, you can combine as long they are both are square roots. If they are one is square root, one is cube root, you cannot combine them. You have to do them separately. Alright? You have to do them separately and then times them. After it turn out to be, then when it comes out to be a round number, whole number. Alright? And then there you go, you multiply. Okay? Okay, let's look at that one. You got square root and a cube root. Definitely, I cannot combine them. But first thing, look at that. They're all mixed numbers. You have to convert them into improper fraction. You cannot solve it with the mixed numbers, alright? So let's turn them into a improper fraction. 16 times 1 is 16, plus 9 is 25. So 25 over 16, square root, timesing with 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 3 is 27 over 8. Now, let's not forget the cube root, okay, very important. Alright, now we should be able to solve it, because this is square root of 25 over square root of 16. See, square root of 25 over square root of 16. And this one is cube root of 27 over cube root of 8. So what is square root of 25? Will be 5. See that? So pretty much 5 over 4. And you're multiplying this with, what's 27? Cube root. Very good. 3 times 3 times 3. So that means 3, and for 8, 2 times 2 times 2. Like that. Now can I simplify them? No. That means I can use the double arrow method and solve it. I want to see if I can simplify or reduce this way, or this way, or this way, or that way. Alright? No. Then I'm going to multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 2 is 8. Can I leave the answer like this? No, that's an improper fraction. So in 15, there's how many 8? 1. So it'll be 1. What would be the balance? 15 minus 8 is? Very good, it's 7. 7 over 8. So it'll be 1, 7 over 8. Okay? That's right there. Okay, let's look at this one. You got 2 decimal. You got square root and a cube root. Alright, let's do separately. Alright, you cannot combine them. You got to do them separately, alright? Because this is a square root and this is a cube root. Okay, let's do that. So we know this. We want to move it how many times? Twice. 1, 2. And that makes it root 16, square root 16. And we're going to divide that with 100. Why is it 100? Because I move it twice. And how many zeros is that? 2 zeros. Okay, now I'm going to find this. What is square root of 16? 4. What is square root of 100? 10. When I divide, I locate the decimal, move it to the left. How many times? Once. Why? Because 10 only got 1 0. I put it right there. So it becomes 0.4. We did that part. Now let's do that one. Okay, I'm going to move it how many times? 3 times. Why? Because I want to make it into a whole number. When I move it 3 times, it becomes 125. And I'm going to divide that with how many times I move? 3 times. That means I'm going to put 3 0. 1, 2, 3. See that? But remember, these are cube roots. So what's the cube root of 125? 5 times 5 times 5. See that? That means I only need 5. What about cube root of 1000? 1000. 1, 2, 3 zeros there. 3 zeros, you can divide that by 3 parts. You only take 1 0, which means 10. Because we know 10 times 10 times 10 is 1000. Now I'm dividing 5 with 10. I locate the decimal, move it how many times to the left? Once. Why? Because I'm dividing it with 10. 10 only got 1 0, I move it once. And that makes it 0.5. Now I times. Because I know this is 0.4 and this is 0.5. Multiply those two. Okay, when you multiply two decimals, forget now, remember later. So we're going to times 4 times 5 is 20, and then we're going to bring the decimal back. How many digits behind the decimal? 1, 2. So I'm going to locate the decimal, move it back. 1, 2. Put the decimal back right there. Alright, so that makes it 0.20. You don't have to show that. That's the final answer for that. 0.2. Isn't that amazing? Whoa! Right there. That's the beauty about mathematics. You apply everything that you learn and do it right. Pay attention to it. Concentrate what you're doing. Alright? Apply all the principles, all the rules that we learned. You will never make a mistake. Alright? Good. That's it right there. Okay, good. Let Mr. Mac erase the board and we'll talk about the division part of it. Alright? I'll be back within a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, now let's do the division of it, okay? Okay, I got listed few problems on the board. Let's do the first one. Now look at this. Square root of 25 divided by the square root of 81. Now this is actually pretty much right there. See that? That means, see that? It's pretty much, that's what that is. That means, what does that mean? Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 81 is 9. 5 over 9, right there. Alright? That's what it is. It's just that rearranging it back to fraction. Okay? Now let's do this one right here. Now look at this. You got square root and a cube root. See that? Square root and a cube root. You cannot combine them. You got to solve them individually. You got to solve this first. Okay? So you know that square root of 16 is what? 4. Square root of 36 is what? 6. See that? It becomes 4 over 6. And you're dividing. Now this is cube root. Cube root negative, you always will get negative. Okay? Cube root of 1 is 1. Because 1 times 1 times 1 is always 1. See that? So 1. And what about cube root of 8? 2 times 2 times 2. That means you only need one of that, which is 2. Right there. Alright? See that division? We want to change that to multiplication. So we're going to use the rotation method. We're going to rotate. Alright, so that becomes 4 over 6. Division becomes multiplication. Now the negative stays. It's just that the fraction is the one that reciprocal becomes 2 over 1. And you know that positive times negative is what? Is negative. You're going to get negative answer, alright? So now we can simplify this way. See the 2 and 6. I can divide this by 2. I can divide this by 2. So that makes it what? That makes it 4 over 3, because 6 divided by 2 is 3, times 2 divided by 2 is 1 over 1. The negative, I already put it right there. Okay, now I'm going to use the double arrow method. 4 times 1 is 4, 3 times 1 is 3, and then I bring the negative right there. Okay, so it becomes negative 4 over 3. Now do I leave the answer like this? No. Why? This is improper fraction. So I simplify this, becomes negative 1, because in 4 there's how many 3? 1. And then balance is 1 over 3. So negative 1, 1 over 3. Alright, you can see that Mr. Mac didn't elaborate how to change this because we already covered this. Form 1, in Form 1, alright, in fractions. So I want you to go back and make sure you understand fractions, decimals from the previous year, which was in Form 1, alright, because in this year we won't be talking a lot about things that you already learned in detail, but Mr. Mac will be just touching on it, alright, and then just go along with it. Okay, so again Mr. Mac encouraged, make sure to go back and review your Form 1 syllabus, alright, very important. As you continue with your Form 2, go, and just because you have access to that, you have access to Form 1, so go in there and review some of the things, because it's going to help you as we go along. Alright, okay, let's go to the next one. Now you got cube root, okay, of 216 divided by square root of a 1 over 4. What number is this? A mixed number, alright? Let's do this one. What's the cube root of 216? Let's see. 6 times 6 is 36. 36 times 6 is right there, alright? So that means 6 times 6 times 6. Alright? We only need one of that. So that means we know 6, divide that by, but we cannot use this, because we can't use with the mixed number. We got to change that into exactly improper fraction. That means I'm going to use the semi-rotation method. times first and then we add. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9, so it becomes 9 over 4. Okay, so now look at this. Okay, let's go back over here. Okay, we got 6 divided by square root of 9 is what? Is 3. Square root of 4 is what? Is 2. See that? Alright, see that? Okay, now you got division. Okay, now we can convert this also in a form of fraction. 6 over 1 divided by 3 over 2. When divide, I turn it, not method, what happened? Becomes multiplication, this one flips. Okay, so it becomes 6 over 1 times 2 over 3. Can I simplify? Yes, I can divide this by 3, I can divide this by 3. Alright, so that makes it, this one, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and you just bring the over 1, 2, you just bring it 2, and then 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now you use the double arrow method. 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1, which is, makes it 4, right there. That's it. Alright, pretty easy, isn't it? Very straightforward, okay? Alright, let's look at this one. Now you got 2 decimals, and one is a square rooting, another one is a cube rooting, alright? And you're dividing between both of them. You cannot do anything, you cannot combine them, alright? You gotta do them separately. You gotta do this first, do that one, and then you divide. Alright, let's do it. Okay, let's start with this one. So, we got 0.16 and square root, okay? So we're gonna move the decimal. 1, 2, how many times did I move? Twice, okay? So now you got 16 square root, I'm gonna divide that with 100. Because why 100? Because I moved it twice. That twice got 2 zeros. See that? Alright. Now I'm going to find the square root of 16. What is square root of 16? 4. Divided by square root of 100 is 10. 4 divided by 10, you locate the decimal and you move it once. Why? Because you're dividing it by 10. 10 got 1 0. You only move it once. So that makes it 0.4. So we did this part. Now let's do that part. Okay? So now let's do it. Move the decimal. 1, 2, 3. I moved it 3 times. Alright? So that makes it cube root of 8 divided by 1000. Also cube root. Okay? Divided by cube root of 1000. What's cube root of 8? 2 times 2 times 2 makes it 8. So we only need 1 of that, which is 2. Alright? And then we divide. Cube root of 1000. So you got 3 zeros. So we just take 1 0, which means 10. Because 10 times 10 times 10 is what? 1000. Alright? So we put 10. Okay, now locate the decimal. Move it only once. When you divide with a 10 or 100 or 1000, you locate the decimal. Move it with the number of 0 corresponding to the number of 0. In this case, I only got 1 0. I only move it once. So that makes it right there 0.2. So now I'm dividing 0.4 divided by 0.2. Now what's our principle for division when you have 2 decimal or just decimals? Okay, you say forget it. Forget it for which one? The divisor. The divisor. This is the one we're going to get it off. We're going to get it off the decimal. When I move that once, I also have to move once on the dividend also. Okay, so that makes it 4 divided by 2. And what's 4 divided by 2? It's 2. That's it. Wow. Look at that. See that? That's the beauty about mathematics. It's such a fun, isn't it? Doing this, coming to get to the answer. Alright, good, my dear students. Let Mr. Mac erase this and we'll talk about when I have a combination of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If I have combined, how do we do that? Alright, I'll be back with you in a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, now let's do with a combined operation. We got addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If I do the jumbled up, alright? Jumbled up, alright? Okay, let's do the first one. I got multiplication and subtraction. Now, when you have combined operation, what is the rule? Best mathematics developed at SCOE. Okay, so let's write that down. Alright, so let's put right here. Best mathematics developed at SCOE. Okay, so bracket, top priority, and then multiplication or division, and then addition or subtraction. So you got to obey that. This got to come first, and then this, and then you can that. So that means bracket, top priority. Anything inside the bracket, you got to solve it first. then multiplication and or division, and then addition or subtraction. Alright? Okay, let's look at this one. When you look at this problem, who got to be solved first? Of course, in this case you got multiplication and subtraction. That means multiplication comes first before I can perform the subtraction. So I'm going to do this first before I subtract. See that? The pairing method. See that? That means I got to find out what is the square root of 144. What is the square root of 144? It's 12. So 12. So you got times with 3, which gives me 36. And then I'm going to subtract that with square root of 9. What's square root of 9? It's 3. See that? Square root of 9 is 3. 36 minus 3, 33. Or you can line it up. Okay, 36 minus 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. Bring the 3 down. 33 right there. Pretty easy, isn't it? Straightforward, okay? The key is obeying the rule. Okay, good. Now let's look at this. You got addition and division. So we got to be done first. This one done first. And then we're going to do it that one. Alright? So let's do that one. 8 squared. What does that mean? 64. 8 times 8. And I'm dividing this by square root of 16. What is square root of 16? It's 4. Very good. So now what's 64 divided by 4? So we're going to use a long division method. Okay, because outside timetable, 64 is kind of into Mr. Mac. I'm going to put inside the cage. 4 is kind of out. I'll put outside the cage. In 6 there's how many 4? 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. I bring the 4 down. In 24 there's how many 4? 6. Because 6 times 4 is 24. Minus give me 0. So that means this one is 16. So I'm going to 16 plus with this one root 3 negative 64. See that? Root 3 negative 64. What would be root 3 negative 64? You know that whenever you take a root 3 of negative, you will get a negative. Alright? Okay, now you want to find out what is the root 3 of 64. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. That's right. That means 4, isn't it? Because you only need 1 out of them. Okay? Because this is actually, let's say if I put like that, is negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. That's what that is. See that? Alright? So, negative 4. We only need 1 of that. Right there. Okay? So now I'm going to add that. Negative 4 plus 16 or 16 minus 4. I can line it up. 16 minus 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring the 1 down. It's 12. Right there. 12. I know. Isn't it awesome? Math is fun, isn't it? And it's easy. Alright, good. Let's look at this one. But it's not. It's very easy actually. It does look like, oh my goodness, Mr. Mac, what is that? It's very easy. Let's break it out. Okay, break it down and do it part by part. What's the first rule? Best mathematics developed X score A. Bracket. Anything inside the bracket, you solve it first. Okay, so we're not going to worry about this yet. We're going to solve inside the bracket. Look at this. This one. We're going to add with down. So I can simplify this first before I can add with 5. Am I right? So let's take that one apart. Alright. 1 minus 3 over 4 square root. So I'm taking 1 minus 3 over 4. I want to make 1 into a fraction. So what would I choose to make that 1 into? Why 4 over 4? The denominator is the one that decides, okay? Because you want to make it 4 over 4, so it'll be common denominator, okay? 4 over 4 minus 3 over 4, alright? So, common denominator, 4 minus 3 is 1. That makes it 1 over 4, square root. Look at that. That means it makes what? Square root of 1, square root of 4. That means 1 over 2. See that? Then I'm going to add that with 5. Alright, so over 1. In order for me able to, see, I put the 5 in the form of common, as a fraction, I put 5 over 1. In order for me to able to add, I have to do what? Make 5 into a fraction, okay? So I got to find a common denominator. What would be the common denominator for 2 and 1? 2. How do I get, so pretty much this is, I bring it down here. How do I get from 1 to 2? I multiply this by 2. That means I multiply this by 2. 5 times 2, the numerator becomes 10. Now can I add? Yes, it becomes 11 over 2. See that? Now I'm going to multiply with that. But before I do that, I have to simplify this, because in the form of what? Root of 3. Okay, or cube root. Alright, cube root. Okay, that means square root of That means cube root of 8 over cube root of 27. Okay, what's cube root of 8? 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. See that? We only need 1, which is 2. What about cube root of 27? 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. We only need 1 of that, which is 3. See that? So now I bring that, put it like that, times 2 over 3. Now can I multiply? Before I multiply, can I simplify? Yes, 2 and 2. I can divide this by 2. I can divide this by 2. That makes it 11 over 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1 over 3. Now I can use double arrow method, which makes it 11 over 3. 11 times 1 is 11. 1 times 3 is 3. Do I leave the answer like this? No, because that's what? Improper fraction. So we're going to use the long division method. We're going to read exactly the same. So what? 11 divided by 3. 11 divided by 3. See that? 11. This is division 3. Then that means I'm going to use the cage approach. 11 is kind of into Mr. Mac. I'm going to put inside the cage. 3 is kind of out. I'll put outside the cage. In 11, there's how many 3? 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? So 3 times 3 is 9. 11 minus 9 is 2. That's my balance. So that makes it 3 is the number of 3 inside 11. So that's 3. And what's the denominator? Is 3. And what's the balance? Is 2. So that is 3, 2 over 3. That's it. Alright, you got it? Good job. Okay, good. And that's what it is all about when you have a combined operation in it. Okay, good. Well, that tells you should be ready for what? Hands-on practice. That's right. Hands-on practice. Alright, my dear student, let Mr. Mac erase the board and then we'll be back. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see what Pablo's doing. Wait a minute. You didn't tell Pablo to give you less number of questions, did you? I know you didn't, alright? I know, because you gotta practice. You gotta have a lot of problems to practice on. Then when you do good, am I right? Alright, let's look what Pablo's doing. He's been very busy. I can see that. He's been very busy. Alright. Let's Mr. Mac erase the board and then I'll be back and then we will call Pablo out. Alright, I'll see you in a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, are you ready? I know you are ready. Mr. Mac too. Alright, let's see if Pablo is ready. Let's see. Oh man, he is ready. Come on over, Pablo. Come on over. Bring the long list of hands-on practice. I know. Well, yes, okay. Pablo's going to hand over the worksheet to you and have fun with it. Alright, make sure you pause the video, okay? Once you're done, invite Mr. Mac in. Alright, have fun. Alright, okay, good. Whoa, how was it? Good job. I'm so proud of you. Look at that. Pablo challenged you with a lot of questions here, and yet you did awesome. You did well. Welcome back. Alright, let's do it together, okay? Mr. Mac already listed out all the questions. The question number 1, let's do it together, okay? Okay, the first one, 1A. You're given cube root, alright? Cube root. Pay attention to all this. See that? Cube roots, alright? And cube root of 729. So, from our timetable, well, not really timetable because this is cube root, okay? We kind of learned earlier 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times 4 times 4, 5 times 5 times 5, 6 times 6 times 6, 7 times 7 times 7. Does it look right? 7 times 7 times 7. Oh, no. It's, how about 8 times 8 times 8? How about 9 times 9 times 9? Let's check and see, okay? So 9 times 9 times 9. 9 times 9 is 81 times 9. So 81 times 9. 9 times 1 is 9. 8 times 9 times 8 is 72. That's right. So that means it's 9 times 9 times 9. We only need 1. So that means it's 9. See that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Okay. Now look at this one. Negative. So you know the answer is going to be negative. 343. So what would that be? How about 5 times 5 times 5? No. How about 6 times 6 times 6? No. How about 7 times 7 times 7? Well, let's do it. 7 times 7 times 7. So 7 times 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49, and then times with 7. Okay. So 7 times 9 is 63. 3, 6. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 6 is 34. Oh, does work. 7, because we negative 7 times negative 7 times negative 7. Alright, and we only need 1 negative 7 right there. Okay, but you always remember that when you cube root with a number that's a negative, you always will get a negative cube root. Alright, and then 7 times 7 times 7 is 343. We just need 1 right there, negative 7. Alright, pretty easy, isn't it? Alright, let's look at this one. This one is pretty much is what? Square cube root. Alright, it's a cube root of 1 over cube root of 27. Alright, what's cube root of 1? 1. 1 times 1 times 1? 1. See that? So we only need 1. So how about 27? Cube root. 3 times 3 times 3. We only need 1, which is 3. So 1 over 3. Okay, now what about this mixed number? We cannot do mixed numbers. We have to change them to exactly improper fraction. Alright, that means we're going to use the rotation method. We're going to multiply first, then we're going to add. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 3 is 27. Make sure you remember the negative. Okay, 27 over 8, and it's a cube root, so you know the answer is going to be negative. And which also means we know this is 27 cube root over 27 cube root and then over 8 cube root. See that? Alright, so we're cube rooting 8. So which would be negative cube root of 27 is what? 3, because we know that 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. We only need 1 3. What about 8? 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. We only need 1, which is the 1 2. The negative right there. So it's negative 3 over 2. Do I leave the answer like this? No, because it's an improper fraction. Alright, so in 3 there's how many 2? 1. Okay, and then what's the balance? 3 minus 2 is 1 balance. So which is 1 1 over 2. Alright, so a simple number like this, do it. If it's a big number, so improper fraction, use the long division using the K-H approach. Alright, okay, look at that. E, decimals, and we are cube rooting a decimal. So what's our first step? Turn that into a whole number. Move it. 1 2 3. So when I moved it 3 times, that becomes 216. So cube root of 216, I'm dividing it with 1000, right? 1000, because 3 times I moved it, so 3 zeros. Alright, so what's cube root of 216? Very good, it's 6. And then what about cube root of 1000? 1000 is 10. So when you divide a whole number with the 10, you locate the decimal and move it to the left by how many times? 1 time. Why? Because it's only 1 0. So that becomes 0.6. Okay, so 0.6 right there. That's your answer. Pretty easy, isn't it? Very easy. Alright, okay, good. Let's do this one. Alright, what's our first step? Move the decimal. Okay, how many times are you going to move it? Let's see. 1 2 3 4 5 6 right there. Okay, so that makes it 512 cube root. Okay, now remember this is also cube root. Smack, forget to put a cube root. Alright, very important. Okay, that means, and then we're going to divide that with what cube root? What's the number is going to be inside there? 1 million, because 6 zeros. Alright, because we moved it 6 times. Alright, so 6 zeros makes it 1 million. Alright, okay, now we're going to find the cube root of 512. So what's the cube root of 512? Let's see. 5 times 5 times 5. How about 6 times 6 times 6? How about 7 times 7 times 7? How about 8 times 8 times 8? So which one would that be? Would it be 9 times 9 times 9? No. It's 8 times 8 times 8. Another that? Alright. Okay, good. 8 times 8 times 8, but you only need 1. So that means that makes it 8. And this one, you got 6 zeros. You want to divide that into 3 parts. 1 2 1 2 1 2. See that? 3 parts. That means 2 zeros. You only need 2 zeros. That That makes it what? 100. 100 times 100 times 100 gives you 1 million. See that? So now we're dividing it with 100. 100 has how many zeros? 2 zeros. We locate the decimal, move the decimal how many times? Twice. Why twice? Because you're dividing it with 100, that's 2 zeros. Put the decimal right there, put a 0. So that makes it 0.08. Alright, that's it. Pretty easy, isn't it? Okay? Alright, good. So that's it. Pretty easy, isn't it? Alright, good. Well, let Mr. Mike erase the board and we'll do problem number 2. Alright, I'll be back with you in a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, are you ready for problem number 2? Let's do it, alright? Problem 2, calculate 2a, okay? You're given 2a square root 2 7/9 plus cube root 3/8. Alright? So how do we do this? Before we can add, we got to solve this two first. Alright? Solve it separately. Okay, let's solve this one. This is in the form of mixed numbers. We don't want mixed numbers. We want in an improper fraction. Alright? That means we're going to use the semi-rotation. Multiply, add. Alright? 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 7 is 25. Okay, so we're going to get 25/9 square root, and then let's do the same thing with this one. Alright, so cube root 8 times, so we're going to use a semi-rotation method. Alright, we're going to multiply and then we're going to add. So 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 3 is 27/8. Alright, 27/8. Now we should be able to solve them. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 9 is 3. Cube root of 27 is 3. Cube root of 8 is 2. See that? Now look at that. We just add them. But can we add them? No. Why? The denominators are not common. Okay, we have to find a common denominator. What would be a common denominator for 3 and 2? Which would be 6. A number that 3 and 2 can be divided by, which would be 6. Alright? Easy way to find is times it. 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to put 6. How do I get from 3 to 6? I multiply this by 2. If I multiply the denominator by 2, I multiply the numerator also by 2. That makes it 10/6. How do I get 2 to 6? I multiply this by 3. If I multiply the denominator by 3, I multiply the numerator also by 3, which makes it 9. 9/6. Now, can I add them? Yes. Why? The common denominator. So 10 plus 9 is 19. And just carry the 6 across. Alright? Can I leave the answer like this? No. Why? The improper fraction. Alright? We're going to use the long division method. Okay? So we're going to convert that into mixed numbers. So 19 divided by 6. Okay? So we're going to use the cage approach. 19 is kind of into Mr. Mag. I'm going to put it inside the cage. 6 is kind of out. I'll put it outside the cage. In 19, that's how many 6? 3, because you know that 3 times 6 is 18. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Now this is the number of 6 inside 19, which is 3. Okay, 3 is the number of 6 inside 19. That makes it round 3. My denominator is 6, and my balance right there is 1. Right there, 3 1/6. Very important. All right, that's the right answer. Okay, all right, good. Let's look problem B. Okay, problem B, you're given 5 squared minus square root of 144. Alright, what's 5 squared? 5 times 5 is 25. That's right, 25. And what's square root of 144? It's 12, because 12 times 12 is 144. Square root of 144 is 12. So 25 minus 12. So let's line them up. Okay, so 5 minus 2 is 3, 2 minus 1 is 1. So that makes it 13 right there. That's the answer. Alright, good. Now let's look at problem C. C, you're given square root 111/25 times cube root 125/216. Alright, don't let these numbers intimidate you. Alright, they're pretty easy. Just do part by part. Right, now let's solve this and then solve that and then multiply. Alright, let's evaluate this. Okay, this is an improper, actually this is a mixed number. We want to change it to improper fraction. So that means we're going to use the rotation, semi-rotation. Multiply first and then we're going to add. 25 times 1. 25 times 1 is 25 plus 11 is 36. So that makes it 36 over 25 square root. Alright, and how about this one? We don't have to because this is already in a form of fraction. That means, can I solve this? 36. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 25 is 5. See that? Now what about this one? Cube root. Cube root of 125 is 5 times 5 times 5. I just need one 5. That's right, 5, isn't it? Alright. How about 216? 6 times 6 times 6. I just need one 6. Alright? Okay, good. Can I simplify this? Yes. Look at that. 6 and 6. I can divide this by 6. I can divide this by 6. 5 and 5. I can divide this by 5. I can divide this by 5. Makes it what? 6 divided by 6 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 over 1 times 1 over 1. We do double arrow method, which makes 1 over 1, which is 1. That's it. Whoa. That equals to 1. That's the beauty about mathematics. Alright? Okay, good. Let's do problem D. How about Mr. Mac erase the board? Okay? Then we'll do problem D. And I'll be back in a few seconds. Alright, you ready for problem D? Okay, problem D, you're given square root of 0.01 divided by cube root of 0.001. It's a piece of cake, isn't it? We know how to do it. How do we do it? First, move the decimal, make it into 1. Okay, square root of 1, and you're dividing it by, how many times did I move it? 2 times, that means 2 zeros. Square root of 100. Alright, that means what? Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 100 is 10. Alright, locate the decimal, move it how many times to the left? When you divide, once. Why once? Because 10 only got 1 0. That makes it 0.1. That one. Now let's do this one. Move how many times? 3 times. Why? Because we want to make that 1. Okay, the whole number. Alright, so right there. So that becomes cube root of 1 divided by, how many times did I move it? 3 times. That means 3 zeros. See that? 3 zeros, okay? So let Mr. Mac put the zeros nicely. Zeros, okay? Alright, now, cube root of 1 is what? 1. Cube root of 1000. 1000 is what? 10. One way to decide is, you got 3 zeros, you divide into 3 parts. Okay, 1. Okay, so 1 0, which is 10. So 1 divided by 10. So you locate the decimal, you move it how many times? Just once. That makes it 0.1. And you're dividing. Alright, what's the principle for division when you have 2 decimals? Forget it. Forget it method. Okay, that means for the divisor, we're going to forget it. We're going to get rid of that. When I move that once, I got to move this one also once. That makes it 1 divided by 1. So 1 divided by 1 is what? It's 1! Alright? The answer is 1. That's it. See that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Okay, good. Let's do problem E. Problem E. Okay, you're given cube root of 8 times bracket and then root of 1 minus 15 over 64 plus 1 over 8. See that? So, what do we do first? Let's write that down. Bash Mathematics developed X core A. That means bracket comes first before I can perform multiplication. See that? What's inside the bracket is being performed first. Whatever inside there. Even there's addition, doesn't matter. The bracket says whatever inside the bracket, you do that first before you can multiply. See that? Let's do that. Okay? So in order to solve this, we got to simplify this first. You got 1 minus 15 over 64. Alright? So let's do that. So we want to make the 1 in a form of fraction. So that way I can subtract. So what should I turn that 1 into? 64 over 64. Why 64 over 64? the denominator. This decide. That way they have a common denominator. Alright, so I'm going to make 64 over 64 minus 15 over 64. Make sure you keep the root, square root. Alright, so now can I subtract this too? Yes. 64 minus 15 is what? Very good. Okay, so that gives you 49. So let's write down here. Okay, so square root 49 over 64, and then we already done that. Now plus that with 1 over 8. That's the bracket. So we're doing the bracket part. Alright, so what's the square root of 49? 7. What's the square root of 64? 8. Now I'm adding with 1 over 8. Are they common denominators? Yes. 8 and 8. See that? That means, can I add them? Yes. 7 plus 1 is 8. That makes it what? 8 over 8. That makes it 1. So this whole thing right here is 1. So now let's do this. So now we know it's timesing with 1. Cube root of 8 is what? 2. 2 times 1? 2. That's it. You got it? Good job. I'm so proud of you. I know you got it because you're the best. And Mr. Mac will only bring the best because you deserve the best. And it's coming from the best. Alright, my dear students, I'm so proud of you. Yeah, you are working so hard with Mr. Mac, and with the help of Pablo to help us out. Yep, oh, right there, Pablo with the hands over the quiz done. Thank you, Pablo. I'm so proud of you. And go get him, alright? Go do your quiz and then see Mr. Mac on the next lesson. This is the end of the lesson, alright? Awesome, well done. You finished this whole, this is a pretty heavy hit lesson, which is good, very good lesson to know, because you're going to use this a lot in your future mathematics. So I strongly recommend that you understand this before you continue next lesson. If you think that you need to go back and review everything that Mr. Mac taught you in this lesson, please do it. Because why? You're going to see this over and over again as you go along in your mathematics. Alright? Alright, my dear students, go have fun with the quiz and then come and see Mr. Mac. I'll be here waiting for you in next lesson. Bye-bye.